Hello everyone, welcome to one more brand new episode of On VJ's playlist, and I'm truly delighted to be speaking to Kevin Shaji, aka Pina Colada Blues. Hello, how are you?
Hey Vijayalakshmi, I'm doing fine. How are you?
I'm very well. We are here, of course, to speak about your sophomore release For Medusa, which you have just put out a couple of weeks ago. But before we come to that, Kevin, you have had a very eventful, journey from the time you began putting out independent releases, I believe, pre-pandemic. And interestingly, while I was reading up about you, when you started taking to production, you confessed to not having any idea about how production works, what were the softwares to be used, what were the courses to be undertaken. So, how did production fall into the scheme of things for you? Because for our viewers who are watching, Kevin is based in Kochi. Kevin actually hails from Kochi, even though he's now based in Hyderabad for the last couple of years. But Kevin, I'd like you to brief us about how did production fall into the scheme of things for you?
Yeah, sure. So it's so originally I have music knowledge from I've learned keyboard and piano and stuff. I haven't learned a bit of guitars back when I was in school.
Hmm.
Uh, but that was it's all started because my mom pushed me to it because she liked music and she wanted me to learn. But back then I wasn't sure how this will help me and all. But skip to college. I think first year I had this flat. I mean, not a PG mate. So he was a EDM listener. Even I used to listen to back, EDM hits back in the day. I wondered how the songs were made, to be honest. But so this guy had prior knowledge about production, like basic stuff, because even we were all so young, right? So even he had some stuff, and he introduced me to the DAW which I use, which is FL Studio.
Right.
And yeah, as you mentioned, I have no prior knowledge about this, how to produce and stuff. It was basically both of us just playing around, figuring it out by mistakes and stuff. So his name is Anand. He is the one who introduced me to the music production stuff, and that's how I also started. And I think maybe the first 2-3 years in college, I was basically playing around with sound. I didn't know, I basically know mixing and stuff. I was playing around with sound, watching YouTube videos, which is very helpful nowadays. I don't feel like, I feel like if you just go dig through YouTube, you will learn production and stuff very easily in a couple of years. So
Really?
that's how I started.
I mean, sorry to cut you there, but would you recommend self-learning through YouTube and other internet, available information versus formal training?
Yeah, because I think most of our favorite producers are self-taught, and even in the Indian scene, I don't think the names you hear right now have been done formal training. Most of them have learned through YouTube or from friends, and just picked it up. But if you feel you want to invest time in that, learn it very technically, then sure you can do a course or something. I think there are colleges in India itself that do that. But yeah, I mean, if you're a starter and just want to play around with, I hardly recommend just YouTube. There are a couple of channels, but if you just search on YouTube music production for beginners itself, you'll find a lot of videos. So that's how I started, at least. And FL Studio is also very it doesn't, I mean, it's a DAW that is beginner friendly, I feel. I mean, it maybe it's my this thing, it's subjective to me, but I feel like it's very what you say, the layout of the DAW is very basic, and you can understand what to do with it. But yeah, definitely YouTube videos and friends is the thing that helped me. So yeah, I mean, I would recommend it to others as well. So yeah.
Kevin, I think a common factor that kind of connects both of us is that we both are Keralites. Although I am partially a Keralite, but the fact that in a regular Keralite household, academics are given such utmost importance, and music is either looked at as an extracurricular activity, which is or just an additional skill, which is good to have. Um, so for you to have found immediate encouragement from your family, how do they take to the idea of you doing music? Or was there ever an alternate career or was there another avenue, another pasture that you were looking at for sustenance?
Um, so fun fact, I'm not full-time musician. But yeah, I wouldn't say I'm a half-time as well. Like I'm not a like part-time musician as well. So it's somewhere in between. But yeah, I studied engineering, and I do a consulting job as well now. I mean, for the last 3 4 years as well. But yeah, I mean, I started out music as a passion, like, but now looking at the last 2 years itself, it kind of changed ways for me as well. But I haven't like gone full time into music, so maybe that's why my parents are happy as well. So it's cool, going good for me.
As long as you're able to keep the balancing act between
Yeah,
both.
yeah. But I've also told my parents the day that I figure out how to make what I make, at least right now,
Hmm.
just from music, I'll definitely switch into that like completely. But yeah, hopefully by in a couple of years.
Well, since we're, but I want to ask Kevin, because you mentioned that EDM was not something that you grew up listening to. It was not something of your immediate liking. I mean, an acquired taste that one could say because of your friend.
No, so I used to listen to EDM, the mainstream EDM at least, like Avicii, Swedish House Mafia
Hmm.
back when I
Hmm.
was in school. Like I think I started listening to Avicii like during his time of Levels, when it was initially released. Like that's when I heard it on the radio, and I was like hooked to that sound. That like I always watched those Tomorrowland videos, the 1 hour
Hmm.
videos, 2 hour videos of performances of artists and stuff. Uh, but I mean, I did not have like the knowledge of all the genres in EDM and stuff or production as well. But I enjoyed listening to EDM and mainstream pop back in the day, and I still do listen to mainstream pop. I mean, EDM has like reduced a bit what I hear now, but there are some songs, I mean, some genres which I listen to. But yeah, otherwise, I think I've been like listening to EDM for a long time. So yeah, I mean, it has also influenced how I started production as well. So
So, Kevin, if you could tell us about who were some of your favorite artists that you actually, started hearing at a very, very early age in your life. And I believe back in college, you even had a three-piece band. Is that correct?
Yeah, three-piece band was like during my 12th. It wasn't like a band, it was more like YouTube covers and I mean Facebook covers and stuff. But yeah, I used to play for like bands in school, like from my 10th to 12th, I've played stuff. Then even in college also I've done like the inter batch arts and even
Hmm.
the inter college arts as well. As I used to play the keyboard as I had mentioned initially, like so I used to play keyboard and synths for the band. So yeah.
Well, coming to your sophomore release For Medusa, it has these really diverse sounds, which combine lo-fi, dream pop, and there's of course a lot of elements of independent music. But what was the distinct soundscape that you wanted to bring with For Medusa in comparison to your debut album, Once Upon a Blue Moon?
So for Medusa, I saw it as a sequel to the Blue Moon album.
Okay.
To me, I mean, Once Upon a Blue Moon was more ambient pop. I felt. I mean, it wasn't like there wasn't something very sharp or like bright in that. In general, it was more like moody and lo-fi-ish pop. But For Medusa has different genres of the current mainstream pop. Like there's songs ranging from like lo-fi to UK garage and
Hmm.
Afro pop even. I mean, not Afro pop. I'm a piano.
Hmm.
The main intention behind For Medusa was creating an album which is mainstream,
Yeah.
but at the same time, it preserves that essence of indie. At least in the songwriting and composition styles, and also at the same time, including all those genres which are there right now, and like trying to make it as sound as good as possible, like in the budget that I was working on. So yeah.
Well, of course, this album sees like a variety of collaborations. You have so many artists guesting for you, from Pratiksha Srivastav, Bitika Kanwar, Rite Dirghangi, who I believe is your frequent collab, or he often writes most of your songs. And then,
Yeah.
of course, there is Aromal, who has always been your frequent collaborator. So take us through each collaboration. Like, how was it approaching these artists, and what was the process of making every composition that you have from For Medusa, and can you think of something distinct that you learned from each artist that you feel like is a quality you want to imbibe in your process?
Yeah. If I'm going step by step, so for most people like tell that I'm a producer, but I'm mainly a composer producer.
Yeah.
So most of the songs that you hear on my album or like previous releases are like composed by me, like except some songs. But in For Medusa, I believe like it's the album started with me like composing some songs on the piano. If I think the first song that I started or wrote on the album was Butterflies.
Yeah.
So it was like a very fun reggae pop song that I had in my mind, and I just played it around, and it was written by Abiram. He has also written my songs Agulage and Omal Kuve and all in the past. And I just want to bring in like people that I worked with on this song. So I brought in Mridul and Abiram to write and Mridul to sing because I really love Mridul's voice. And we have also like collaborated in the past, like for Agilage and Q.
Yeah.
And so that song was like completely composed by me, but also there's a credit for the guitarist Boydurja.
Yes.
Boydurja Banerjee. He plays for a lot of bands like PK and Priyanka Nath and all. So what happened was like after that I had the initial idea, like the main production and the composition. Me and Boydurja sat down, wrote the guitar lines. Like towards the end, there's a switch, like a outro transition for the song. That was like that came into existence because of Boydurja's guitar playing. To be honest, that was a starting piece for that outro at least. And I really love working with guitars and stuff. And right now, I feel like Boydurja is like really helping me with that also, because he's like really sharp and like he thinks he thinks in a way different than what I think. So that actually complements my production as well. And he has even done guitars for I think multiple songs in the album, like 3-4 songs in the album as well. And then there were songs like Arigil, which I composed the hook of the song. It was like initially I had composed a full song, but they after the hook Aramal really like, but then Aramal came into and he did his magic on the verse because he like recomposed that stuff a bit, and I felt it worked better, so I was like really happy for that input as well. So yeah, working with all these collaborators, they bring in their stuff into it, like even if I have like a basic idea of the song, they're free to like work on it again, like recompose or rewrite stuff. But yeah, if I'm going into like a proper collaboration on the album, that would be Marzi with Pratiksha and Keshav Tiwar. Yeah, that song would be like a proper 3x3 collab, because all three of us like went into songwriting. It wasn't originally how like the original idea of it. At least the composition wise, it was very different.
Yeah.
So I would say like each part is composed by each person, so it's like very fun also like working on that, because it's like 3 songs made into one. And we had Keshav on last minute as well, and his part came out unexpected. Like that wasn't the original direction we were going for, but yeah, it turned out really well as well. So yeah, I'm always up for collaborations and stuff, like especially when it's songwriting and doing stuff that I can't do. It brings in so much value for me as well. So yeah, it's something that I really look forward while I do collaborations.
When you are doing these collaborations, is there an aspect, or is there a particular element of the process, like say songwriting, or in any way, if vocal harmonies or anything that immediately interests you, and you feel like you want to get down to the thick of researching more and learning more about that aspect?
Yeah, so for me that would be songwriting and composing mainly, even production wise as well. But yeah, the producer collabs I've done till now is maybe 1 or 2 as of date. But yeah, I would look forward for doing that, but I feel like it's a pretty bit hard. Pretty much harder than collaborating with other singers and songwriters as well, because it's like it takes us some time. When you do producer collabs, like you need to like find out what works best for both artists as well. But if if something that I look into is like when I collaborate with the songwriters, I find like the current Hindi pop or Hindi indie singer songwriters, they know how to write well. They know how to like make the song crisp as possible.
Yeah.
Especially the artists who also like release on labels as well. Like even me, like been working with, I mean, I had worked with the label Day One for like the maybe in the last 2 3 years.
Yeah.
And I mean, before that, I also like, I didn't like, I wasn't that great at, composing or producing stuff that are like radio friendly. But after this 2 3 years, I also figured, there's like a way to like like take out what is not needed and keep only what is required. I mean, even nowadays, the attention span of the audience is also down. But that doesn't mean that I don't like making long records. I mean, I like listening to long stuff. But yeah, I mean, I love to dig into how songwriters think, like especially the mainstream pop songwriters, not just in India but like
Yeah.
across the globe, like, and how they think, how they figure out what works, what's catchy, like what's the science behind what's catchy, why do songs go viral or why do songs stick in the head. So I mean, that's something that I like to like go through and stuff. Even like I like to read about or watch videos about that. So yeah, that's something that I like to dive into.
Well, because you mentioned virality, I think, Kevin, what is happening in today's day and age is that a lot of artists are more concerned upon making making a piece of music that goes viral than bearing quality. Where do you weigh in on that debate?
Yeah, I mean, I do know that, and I know that even any like most of the artists are like talented enough to make viral music. But at the same time, I mean, I'm fine with what they do. I mean, it's good. Like, I mean, we need viral music as well in the full music ecosystem. Like, it gets your eye into you as like a breakthrough artist.
Yeah.
But I haven't like thought about it as well, like incorporating into my music yet. Like, I mean, unintentionally, I might have written like catchy hooks in like some of the songs in the album, but it was never the factor. It was more like staying true to the sound that I wanted for the album, and that's something that I think I achieved. But I mean, definitely I would like to learn how to like create such songs, like what works, what brings in the audience. And like actually I really respect people who can like songwrite viral songs or like produce stuff which sticks, or like if they can like create 30 seconds of a hook that can go viral. I mean, that's really cool talent, I would say.
Interestingly, what I particularly admire about For Medusa, the way it's been presented, is that it's a trilingual album also. There is Hindi, there's Malayalam, and there is Tamil. So was it a conscious choice to actually present the album, like present songs in 3 different languages? Or was that just that it fit into the theme of the album, which is how that's how it fell into place?
Yeah, so I mean, there's English as well. The title song is in English, and even the last song Google has the English chorus. I mean, English chorus as well. I mean, it's not completely English, but it's more like Hindi and English.
So
But
for
yeah, Medusa is a complete English song. But yeah, so there, yeah, when I started writing the album, the plan was to include as much as languages as possible. Even in Uljan, I think with Mitika Kanwar, she has also had a Punjabi influenced bridge
Mm,
towards the end. So it was like, I mean, Pina Colada Blues as a brand, when I started out, it was like, bring in much genres and languages as possible.
yeah.
And that was something I went with for the album as well. And yeah, I mean, theme wise, it goes in sing as well. Like each song leads to the other, like lyrically, irrespective of the language as well. And that was something that took some time, like more than creating the album. I think arranging the songs, like keeping the right songs where, and like scrapping out the songs that didn't work out like in the album space, was something that took like 1 or 2 months maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise this having as much as language as possible is something that I always look into. Yeah.
Interestingly, Kevin, before we started the interview, you mentioned about how you're now based in Hyderabad. And in my past interactions that I've had with the likes of, Siddharth Bendi, with PK, and even some informal off-the-record chats that I've had with Priyanka Nath, it's very, very interesting to note that Hyderabad is now a brewing pot of a lot of independent talents. But it has also been observed that unfortunately a lot of uh, local talents, they do not get that kind of spotlight because the commercial music scene in Hyderabad is largely overwhelming. Um, as somebody now who is put up in Hyderabad now, how do you look at the local independent scene in the city?
uh, okay, I can give my honest feedback on this. So yeah, I mean, even I have been like in Hyderabad for 2 3 years. I try to attend the gigs like whichever I can. So if you like notice all at the main venues and stuff, you see all these cover bands performing, which do the Telugu film music, but in their style. I mean, as much as I like it, I mean, it's also, build up that space where like audience wants that more than the independent or original stuff, I feel. So having that many cover bands also give the venues the option to choose from them and not from the independent artist as well.
Okay.
That's some like, the growth of cover bands and their commercial success is something that needs to be looked upon. But I mean, I'm not saying there's nothing against it. It's maybe like, I mean, it's what the audience prefers as well.
Hmm.
But at the same time, I've also seen like the electronic music scene in Hyderabad is like really insane. I felt like there are like underground gigs, and there are like, I mean, when I initially came to Hyderabad, I even attended the Boiler Room in Hyderabad. It was like insane, like, the talent that came in as well. And there are like gigs that are organized by these electronic collectives as well, which is like, which brings in like crazy sounds. And yeah, I mean, the audience is like less compared to the commercial stuff, but at least there's like a niche audience, I feel.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's in the end, it depends upon the. I mean, I'm not sure if it fully depends upon the audience, but yeah, it's upon that, the group of, I mean, let's say like, some of my friends like indie music and they go to the gigs. It's upon them who go to the indie gigs to bring in more friends of theirs, I feel, and like, bring, spread the word accordingly. Uh, but at the same time, there is like, I mean, recently I've heard that, the indie artists who perform in Hyderabad also face backlash as well when they don't do like film songs in the set, which is like, I feel it's an audience fault. I mean, you can't like go to an indie gig and expect them to like, sing film songs and stuff. I mean, that's why there are commercial bands exist as well. But yeah, I mean, it's a growing scene here. I mean, even in Kerala also as well.
Yeah.
So I feel, I mean, hopefully, maybe in the coming years, it will be better for the indie artist as well. So that's something that I feel.
Another thing, Kevin, that I would like to ask you is that we see we are now actually in the midst of a very meteoric rise for the pop, or I won't say popularity. I would say it's a meteoric rise now that we are witnessing for a lot of artists who are of Malayalam origin. Like even in the films now, like we've had a wonderful year so far in Malayalam cinema. We have an artist of Malayalam origin, although he's Bangalore-based, but an Indian an Indian hip hop act who is rapping in English and who's now climbing up the charts, the Billboard charts right now as we speak. It is a sort of a huge breakout moment for the community, if you have to look at it from a community angle, although I don't believe in that. But how does it does it seem encouraging for you that this is now the time where artists can be more convinced about actually putting out their kind of art, and not really give into like you said, like you spoke about the Hyderabad music scene, not give into the consumer demand, the audience's demand, but actually put out what they hold conviction for?
Yeah, I mean, HMK is Hanumankind is like the basic example of that. I mean, he himself has said that he has been pressured to do Malayalam stuff, but I mean, he's saying staying true to his sound like since the beginning, and that's something I think that worked for him really well. And right now, that it's a matter of that one song. Like, if you're like staying on a track, maybe like maybe it might take some years, but that one song will change your life. So that's what has been seen in Hanumankind's story at least. And I'm like I'm really happy for him because I've gone to his gigs. I know his energy. Like, he's really an insane artist. So definitely, yeah. So yeah, I mean, that means like, it just shows that you don't have to do like commercial stuff. You don't have to do like Malayalam or like Hindi, like, songs to be like, you know to like change your direction of your act. I mean, maybe, but yeah, if you're someone who's like well versed in Hindi, maybe like Anup Jain and all, I mean, they are staying true to their sound. So I don't feel like artists have to like what do you say, switch to like different sounds, or or like make songs that sound viral or that could go viral. But yeah, I mean, again, everything depends upon the artist perspective as well. I mean, it might be different for every artist. Like, I mean, for me at least, I don't make songs in like a specific language. I mean,
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that's basically because I like playing around with languages and genres. But at the same time, if you're like an artist like who does English stuff, you don't have to feel pressured to do regional stuff to get more reach in your place. Because maybe your English stuff could blow up, and that means that you could go, global. That's something bigger than just looking at it, like, at a national scope. So yeah.
Well, two quick questions before we conclude our interview. Kevin, who are some of the emerging or established Indian independent acts that you like listening to at leisure when you just want to just unwind after a long day of work?
Currently, I listen to Chardevari. Definitely, I listen to. I think he is an inspiration for me as well because it's not just his music. It's just,
Char Diwari is really hot on everyone's lists right now.
yeah, it's not just his music. It's his
Yep.
videos. I mean, I don't know how he does it, but yeah, it's like I think he has a very genius brain. So maybe that's it. And otherwise, I also listen to like all my friends who have I collaborated with. Like I listen to songs from Pratiksha or like I listen to song from like the independent artists in Malayalam, like Aromel. And
Yep.
I mean, I like to listen to songs from my friends basically because I'm looking at what they are doing and how it could inspire me as well. Or like if I have a song similar to that, I can get them on track as well. So it's always good to check up on that. But otherwise, yeah, Chardevari I listen to Sudan as well. I mean, he's also I think a genre breaker right now. So these two artists are there on my like playlist and stuff. In at least from India. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, from a global perspective, I listen to like bands like Lawrence or like R&B stuff, whatever is like chilling to me. But yeah, otherwise it's fully mainstream pop and Indian indie. I listen to like whatever is like trending right now, and just to keep in check, what's happening right now. So yeah.
What's next on the cards now, Kevin?
Um, Currently working on some singles. Also, there are some singles that I've made which are yet to come out.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm waiting for those to come out because I mean those are like some sounds which have done worked well for me as well before. Like if you might have heard songs like Teranisha or Ratya. So there are like a couple of singles in that style which will take some time to come out. I feel because yeah, there's like some stuff involved in that. But yeah, definitely waiting for those to come out. Otherwise, yeah, I've started thinking about what's next, like, what's the next sound, what to make, and that's what's been happening. And hopefully, like, you will be hearing some singles in a couple of months.
Will we see you take to the stage?
Huh. I can't comment on that right now, but yeah, hopefully, maybe, year end or early next year.
Well, onwards and upwards, Kevin. Thank you so much for taking the time out and for your trust and for your patience on speaking to us on VJ's playlist. Thank you so much for watching. We will be back with another episode very soon.